Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 5, Rick's final episode. Alright guys, so what an insane episode. I uploaded my reaction to the episode, a couple minutes after I saw it. I made that video, put it up on the channel. Already got a lot of support on it, so just, and I uploaded that about an hour ago, so really appreciate that. If you haven't seen that one, I suggest you check it out and then come back to this one. This will be going over my in-depth review of the episode, going, really in-depth, talking about everything that we saw. And so, the typical weekly review that I give, but I also want to do that reaction because of what the hell happened in this episode, right? Like, an intense episode. So, I've had a little bit of time to process the episode now, so hopefully we'll go more in depth and less just about the, reactionary things and actually maybe talk about things. So, along with this episode and Talking Dead tonight, we got a huge announcement about Andrew Lincoln and movies. So, I want to talk about that first, and then we'll talk about a recap of the episode and give some of my more overall thoughts of it. So anyways, guys, if you like this review, please leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and let me know what you thought of this episode. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts, on this one, either the reaction video or this one. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the episode, and let me know what you think of what we're going to see going forward. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, and that's what this is all about, to start discussion, and it'd be great. So anyways, really appreciate that, and really appreciate the support as well from the channel. So anyways, let's get into the talk about some movie stuff. So on Talking Dead, it is now confirmed that Scott Gimple basically confirmed to us that we're going to see multiple movies, not just from Andrew Lincoln, but also for some other stories. He also slid in there very slightly, he said, some flashback or some exploring the past of some characters, and I think that's obvious, talking about Negan. So I think for sure, undoubtedly, a Negan movie will be happening. I'm not sure when, but I think he essentially confirmed it with saying the past of some characters like he did there. Then also the confirmation of Andrew Lincoln, right? In 3, it sounds like he will be in 3 feature-length movies. But he has confirmed that he is not going to be returning to the show. Instead, he will be in 3 feature-length movies. And again, we don't know when these will come out, what they're going to be about. Obviously, we know, at least one of them is going to be about his time now, probably between this big time skip that we're getting, right? Between him going off in the helicopter and what it is right now in The Walking Dead. But unfortunately, we get confirmation here that he won't be returning to the show at all, ever. And so that's a little unfortunate, because you would have liked to see, or I would have liked to see him in a movie, and then he returns to the show. So it's like piecing it together. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get that. But 3 feature-length movies with Andrew Lincoln, insane. For me personally, I saw this coming. I think a lot of us did. And this kind of speaks to the whole thing of why they did it, and the whole thing about him wanting to see his family. I don't know. Was this their plan all along, to kind of trick us and thinking, it's his last episode, last time we'll ever see Rick, right? And then they hit us with movie news, right? So, I don't know. It could have been planned from the beginning. Either way, I'm happy with it. I'm thinking earliest movie for Rick, or any Walking Dead movie, it'll be like 2019 fall or winter of 2019, at least a year away. So, we got to wait, right? And we're not sure what type of movie it's going to be. Is it going to be in theaters? Is it going to be on AMC? We'll have to see. So anyways, I just want to talk a little bit about that to start off this review. And dive into that, because that was also announced tonight. Huge announcement in Talking Dead after tonight's episode. So Rick is gone from the show forever. This was his last episode, but we will see Rick Grimes again in other movies. So anyways, in three movies he signed on and confirmed to be in. And so that's going to be crazy. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of that news. So getting into this episode, first thing I want to mention is, a lot of people hate Scott Gimple, right? A lot of people do, and I really disagree with some of his decisions, mainly killing Carl in Season 8. Though I thought season 8, episode 9 was very well done. I don't think they could have done a better job of sending off Carl. But just that decision, again, a lot of people disagree with that. So you can say anything, you can say a lot, let's just say, about Gimple and why you hate him. But I'll point out, he wrote this episode. He co-wrote this episode, and I think this is arguably the best episode of The Walking Dead ever. I think it can definitely stand as the best episode of the series ever. So say what you want about Scott Gimple, but just keep in mind he co-wrote what could be the best episode of the series ever. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about Scott Gimple. I'm not saying stop hating on him, because I'm going to continue hating on him for some of the decisions he's made. But for him to write this type of episode, I think he deserves some credit. All right, let's dive into the recap. So we start off here with Rick seeing himself in the hospital, right? And he tells himself on the bed, wake up, right? And then we see the helicopters coming from the window. So a lot of people saw this opening minutes thing that they put on AMC Premiere now, and this was essentially in a lot of trailers, a lot of teasers. So this wasn't a lot of new stuff, but he says, wake up. He sees the helicopters coming in from the window, right? And then him in the hospital bed, he says, yeah, wake up, asshole, right? Back to himself. And he does. He wakes up then. And then we get one of the hardest scenes to watch of the whole episode, where he is forced to lift himself off of that construction bar that's lodged through his torso, and with his belt pull himself up. Very hard to watch scene there. Very insane. And you hear him like squealing in pain, right? Screaming. Very tough to watch that scene, but he does it. He gets off of that rebar, that construction bar, and he crawls then to the horse and is able to get on, but he's in so much pain, right? He just pulled himself off a bar, right? And he's losing a lot of blood as well. But he gets on the horse and he begins leading the walkers away. So what we thought, a lot of people thought he died or something like that. No, he briefly, went unconscious, then came back and he realized his situation and he got on that horse. Now, again, I will say Walking Dead has done this before, but that last episode, it did not look like he had the time that he did in this episode to get away from those walkers. It looked like those walkers were about 10 feet away from him at the end of last episode, and they were at least, I would say, 50 feet from him in this episode. So a little bit, they're trying to make it look worse than it is, but anyways, just have to say that. Then we see that Jadis walkies to the helicopter group her location and lies about having an A. So she obviously doesn't have an A, but she still wants to be picked up, and so she's lying to them, and of course that plays a huge part in Rick's departure. And so yeah, so that was really a great thing to set up, and then we see her at the very end of the episode, of course, again. So then we see Rick is riding on the horse, and this was basically the majority of the episode for Rick, is riding on that horse, right? He starts falling out of consciousness a little bit. He's starting to see these little scenes, right? Small scenes here and there. He sees the hospital bed. He sees the car from the pilot, of course, that iconic scene, and all these little things that are piecing together here for Rick. And he's, kind of falling in and out of consciousness. You're seeing these, right? And then he quickly finds an abandoned cabin up the street. So he gets off the horse. Once he gets to the cabin there, he gets off the horse and sits down inside this cabin. He thinks he's kind of, found shelter, maybe got away from the walkers there. And as he sits down, I think he fixes his wound a little bit, ties something around it, some cloth. But he, again, falls unconscious while he's sitting there, right? And so also key parts here is he's seeing a skeleton holding a gun in the cabin. So obviously we know a human tried to fight off the walkers that were there and he didn't. So that's bad. And then also really quickly he looks up and he sees a deer head, referring to the first time Carl got shot in season 2. So that was crazy too. That was awesome stuff, but just a little quick look there at that deer head. So now he is unconscious and he is hallucinating, and this is where we see the first flashback. So Rick is riding into Atlanta on this white horse, just as he did in the pilot, and he sees Shane. This was insane. To see Shane back, of course, we all kind of knew that John Bernthal was going to be in this and doing a cameo. It was still amazing. So, oh my God, right? So they're eating together just like they were in the pilot in that cop car. Wow, right? Just wow. So they're discussing the events of the pilot, talking about how there's a third driver and, all of that, right? what would have happened if the guy wasn't there? What would have happened? Would Rick survive the apocalypse? All this stuff, and that really great questions, even as fans, to ask ourselves, looking and reflecting back on these moments. And that's what this episode did so well, is reflect on those moments that all of us want to. So anyways, and then they talk a little bit about Shane's death and Rick killing him, right? And he says, it had to be me, it still has to be me, right? And then Shane says he has to be like the Rick who bit that man's neck out, who killed Gareth with the machete, right? That kind of Rick, right? And then Shane says, you can do it, brother, right? And that's something that really gets to Rick, I think. That's some really impactful. Of course, it's all hallucination, but then Rick says, I'm sorry for what I did to you. And I think that was a very good line, because I don't think he truly has had a moment to apologize like that. And to have that with Shane in this episode was insane. So then Shane says, you know something, Rick? And then he snaps out of it, and that scene gets cut off, and that is it for Shane. So he snaps out of it, and he awakens to tons of walkers flooding in this cabin all of a sudden, because of course the herd caught up to him, right? And so he gets out of the cabin, barely gets out alive, and gets back on the horse and begins to ride away. So an amazing first flashback here with Shane. Crazy stuff. The dialogue in the scene was amazingly written. And John Bernthal, kudos to him for coming back. That's awesome. So then we see Scott tells Michonne that Maggie has arrived, and I really love this scene. It was unexpected. I didn't expect this type of scene in this Rick's final episode, but it was insane. So Michonne goes to guard the door to Negan's cell by the time Maggie gets there, and then this was in the sneak peek as well, but she says, Glenn wouldn't want this, your father wouldn't want this, right? And she says, it's gonna start something else. If you kill him, it's gonna start something else. Maggie says, it's been a year and a half, and I have to find a way. And again, reminding us of this time skip that's taken place, and she still hasn't seen Negan or got any closure, right? So totally understand her. And eventually, Michonne actually steps aside and gives Maggie the keys reluctantly. Of course, she doesn't agree with her, right? And maybe a part of her thinks that Maggie actually won't go through with it, and that's why she steps aside. But either way, she steps aside, and Maggie walks into the cell and sees Negan. This was an insane scene, because it's the first time Maggie has ever confronted Negan after him killing Glenn like that. So anyways, he says, you finally came for revenge, and she says, justice, right? And I think that's an important thing too. And then Negan begins egging her on and just making things way worse for himself. Says he enjoyed killing Glenn. He doesn't enjoy killing a lot of people, but Glenn he really enjoyed killing. And then he begins even begging Maggie to kill him so that he can be with his wife and he can be with Lucille, right? And Negan starts crying. What? Right? Like, this was such a powerful scene, and he says it has to be her, he should be dead, right? And he doesn't want to live anymore if he can't see his wife and Lucille. And then Maggie, really great line here, I came to kill Negan, and you're already worse than dead. That settles it. So, really crazy scene here, and we see Negan has been totally just broken down at this point, a year and a half in that cell without seeing Lucille, and then Michonne now tells him that Lucille's out there, they don't know where it is really breaks him down, as we saw last episode. So Maggie is now satisfied, because she doesn't have to kill Negan. He is worse than dead right now. He is pretty much worse than dead, and so for her, she is satisfied. If this is going to be what Negan is now, she is satisfied. She doesn't need to kill him, right? And so that was such a powerful scene there with Maggie and Negan, and then she walks out, Michonne and her. That was a really cool moment, too, where they kind of give each other that look. So, anyways, Negan totally broken down, and his life is not, it's basically over, right? He has nothing. He has nothing left. So, anyways, really great scene, though. I did not expect that to be in this episode. Then we see Rick begins hallucinating again on the horse as he rides away from the cabin, and this time sees Herschel. This was a very emotional moment, as Scott Wilson has passed away in real life, and he did shoot this. This may actually be his last acting credit. We're not sure yet, but wow. An amazing scene here. Rick says, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, right? And again, he had no closure with Herschel either when he died. So, crazy stuff. And Rick says, I'm tired, Herschel, my family, maybe I can find them here, right? Implying that they are in heaven and that maybe he should just die at this point. Maybe he should give up so that he can be with Lori and Carl again. And Herschel says, no, Rick, you have to wake up. And it starts this trend with wake up, right? Each of these characters are saying this, and then he kind of snaps out of it. So he falls unconscious again. And so he goes back into consciousness, then he goes back out, and he walks down the hallway of the hospital. Don't open, dead inside. An amazing scene here to open that door. We all wanted him to open that door in the pilot, and now he opens that same door. Insane. So he walks in this door, and it's a huge field almost of bodies, of dead people. Everyone he's ever known in the apocalypse is lying there dead. And this is just insane. This visual was breathtaking. It was insane. So then we see Sasha, Sonequa Martin Green, stand up behind him. And he says, they're all dead. How can this be okay? And she says, because you did your part like I did mine. And of course, this speaks to her basically, committing suicide in order to help the group, right? And he says, it feels like it's ending. And she replies, it's never the end because we don't die. And that was a very important part here too. We don't die. She's dead, right? She's dead, but she's saying Rick and all them, they don't die, right? They can't die. They have to survive. And then she says, what you need to do is wake up. And then he snaps out of it again. And we see him get bucked off his horse and arrive back at the camp to see many people just kind of, killed, right? They're all kind of just lying there dead on the ground, and the walkers all around them approaching him at this time where he wakes up. So really crazy stuff here. Both Herschel and Sasha flashback scenes were insane, and the whole hospital thing, don't open, dead inside, an iconic moment. So really great there. He fights off a couple of those walkers, and then the herd converges upon him, and he has no choice but to lead them out of the forest where that camp is. So he slowly leads them away. And this was an amazing visual here. I just thought, one man against all odds, right? We just see Rick slowly limping his way to leading this huge herd of zombies away, or walkers. What an amazing visual. Maybe the best visual of the episode, next to maybe the helicopter scene. An insane visual, right? Rick finally being that guy leading all of these walkers away. So then again, he hallucinates that everyone is coming to help him. The whole group comes running after, and I quickly realized that this was not real, right? And so Michonne comes to him and says, we don't die. I fell in love with you because you're a fighter and you never give up. So fight, Rick. Fight for all of us. And Rick, of course, realizes too. He says, this isn't real. And then we see Michonne kisses him, and she says, now wake up, right? So we get the same thing, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then he snaps out of it again. An amazing job, an amazing trend in this episode. So that was really great to see. Then they panned, and she said, fight for us. And it showed all the members of the remaining group. That was powerful as well. So reality hits him then all of a sudden, and he knows now what he must do. He must sacrifice that bridge. So he begins walking across the bridge to hopefully kill all of these walkers and get them to, of course, collapse with the bridge. But surprisingly, the bridge won't collapse. It actually is strong enough to hold all of these walkers. Nobody thought that, right? So it was strong enough to hold all these walkers, and it was not going to collapse. So Rick is then cornered. He has no chance to get out of this if the bridge isn't going to work. He can't outrun them, right? He can't run it. He can't walk. So he's really cornered here. He's about to even get bit by a walker from behind. And right at this moment, Daryl's arrow shoots the walker down. And we see the group arrives, right? They all kind of run to the edge there. But sadly, they can't get to Rick. They can see him, but they can't get to him because they're on the lower part of that bridge, right? And so it's going to take them a few minutes to get up to where he is. Though Daryl can fire some arrows and help him, they can't get to him. And this just created a very emotional moment here, right? And so Daryl starts standing his ground, keeps firing those arrows and helping Rick, but we see in his face that he's slowly losing hope with each shot that Rick is going to survive. And Rick's face to him also shows that as well. He has lost hope. So the others are running to help Rick. Michonne, of course, the first one there to run and help him. And then Rick sees the explosives laying loose on the ground of the bridge. And he sees them then as the only way to get out of this alive, or at least end it so that the walkers won't, cause harm to the rest of the group. And so he commits the ultimate sacrifice. And he says, I found them, referring to his family. I found my family. And he fires the shot, and the bridge erupts. He explodes the entire bridge, and it erupts, and it is a huge, huge explosion that makes it look a lot like Rick is dead, right? Rick is gone, to at least the whole group, right? And this was maybe the most chilling moment of the series. I'm honestly, Michonne and the others cannot believe it, and they think Rick has just died. Wow. And seeing Daryl walk away and Michonne just totally broken. Everybody just totally broken by this. Wow. What a chilling moment. So, anyways, can't stress that enough how powerful of a scene that was. And honestly, I was like, wow, did he die? Did they really just kill him off? Right? And then we get that commercial break right after, so that was well placed as well. But no, he does not die off. So then we get Jadis, we get back to her, right? And so then she sees the bridge on fire from a distance. She sees the huge clouds of smoke coming up because it was a large explosion. And then looks down to the shore where the bodies are washing up and sees Rick alive on the beach. Insane, right? So she's just in the right place at the right time. Rick washes down the lake there, the river, and is sitting there on the beach and moving. So she knows, he's alive. She then radios to the helicopter to bring him, right? She says, I have an A now. I have a B. Let's go, right? And she says, do we have a deal? And of course, the helicopter then comes down and lands to save Jadis and Rick. Next scene we see is Jadis hovering over Rick in the helicopter, and she says, you're gonna be okay. And Rick is just, imagine in Rick's position, right? You're in a damn helicopter, and you've just been saved, and he had no idea what was going on. We saw the reaction on his face. That was insane. But anyways, he's lying down in the helicopter, getting flown away, and then we get Space Junk playing the song from the pilot playing as we see the helicopter fly away in the sky. What a send-off for Rick Grimes. An amazing send-off. Then quickly the visual changes, right? And we get this huge time jump that they've been talking about in this episode, which I did not expect. We get a huge time jump and we see a new group, which is Magna's new group, fighting off a group of walkers. And suddenly they are saved by someone, and it happens to be Judith. Insane. She puts on the sheriff's hat and says, I'm Judith Grimes. What an amazing ending to the episode here. This was insane. The send-off for Rick, the time skip. Wow, right? Judith is older now. Crazy, crazy stuff. So that'll just about do it for the recap for this episode. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this episode, you know what? This is a perfect episode, but I gotta take it down a notch because of a couple things, and I'll reveal those. So my rating for this episode is a 4.95 out of 5. This was a perfect episode. It honestly was, but my two things that I have here is Sasha could have been replaced by someone else, right? I don't know. I really like Shane and Herschel, right? Two of the most impactful characters to Rick in the story. But Sasha was never really that type of character. I don't know. I like the scene. Don't get me wrong. The writing for it was great. The whole theme of it was great. And Sasha pushing that kind of idea that we don't die. I really like that. And then also they finish each other's sentence with that saying about that, they love each other. Yeah, it was good, but it could have been a different character. I felt if you had Carl there, that this episode would have been easily the best episode of The Walking Dead ever, to have a scene with Carl and Rick. Though it hasn't been long since the two were on screen together, it would have been so much more powerful. So that right there is one of the reasons why I cannot quite give this a perfect score, even though probably it is. Yeah, so anyways, yes, I like Sasha, I like Sonequa Martin Green, but it could have been a better character. And to be honest, maybe they just couldn't get anyone else. Maybe, well, I'm not trying to offend Sonequa Martin Green, no. But I'm just saying maybe they couldn't get Chandler Riggs. Maybe they couldn't get Sarah Wayne Collies as Lori, right? Maybe they just couldn't get those characters back, and that's why they picked Sasha. So who knows, right? A lot of stuff going into that, but that's my thoughts there. And a little bit too obvious, the send-off for Rick. That would be my only other complaint about this episode. The images that were released ahead of time, the teaser that was released, the opening sneak peek or whatever for this episode, it was just a little bit too obvious, to be honest, with the whole helicopter thing and how Rick was going to go out. A lot of people were still speculating, but honestly, I was pretty sold on that theory. If you watched my theories video going into this episode last week, this was what I stated, and this was what I thought I believed was going to happen, and it basically happened exactly the way I said it in that video, and I didn't see any spoilers. Like, I was just giving a theory. So, again, little too obvious for my liking, but if you're just a casual fan, you tuned into this and you don't watch any other background stuff, yeah, this would have been very impactful. So, you know, it changes, right? It depends on what your opinion and what you saw going into this episode. So, anyways, those two things are the only reason why I can't give this a 5 out of 5, but to me, honestly, it was perfect. It was amazing. So, favorite character for this one, Rick Grimes, right? Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln. What an amazing time for The Walking Dead, and to see Rick leave the show. A lot of, of course, some people are, happy that he's gone or whatever. But, at the end of the day, if you've been watching for 9 years and you've been taking this journey with Rick Grimes and Andrew Lincoln, this is an amazing moment for all of us. And even, I've been watching since season 4, so I've been watching about 5 years now. Or no, yeah, 5.5 about. And this is a crazy moment for me. So, even if you watched last year, this would be an insane moment. So, anyways, what an amazing send-off for Rick, though. I thought it was perfectly done. A lot of people wanted to see him die. I really didn't want to see that, and I felt like they really did an amazing job sending him off with this episode. Everything kind of made sense, and they tied everything together, and yes, there's a loose end, but it will be solved in these movies, it sounds like, and so it's not like it's a huge mystery. So, anyways, wow, Andrew Lincoln, you know what? Good job. Good job. 9 years dedicated to The Walking Dead. Now he wants to leave. A lot of people are criticizing him, but let's be real, guys. 9 years of dedication to The Walking Dead, making this show and that character beloved to so many fans. What an amazing job. So you got to give a lot of credit to Andrew Lincoln and respect his decision for leaving, because 9 years, a long time, and he's been doing such a great job. So, you know what? Farewell to Rick Grimes. We'll see you in a couple movies, but for the Walking Dead television series, farewell. It's been a great ride. So, anyways, guys, can't talk good enough about this episode. I do think this episode is the best episode of the series. I got a review, but I think Too Far Gone and this one are so close for me right now. This one may actually edge it out. So, what an amazing episode, guys. Just to wrap things up here, maybe the best episode of The Walking Dead ever. An amazing send-off for Rick. And I think I'll be making a video tomorrow talking about the future of the show, because there's so much to break down just in that little teaser for next week. So, anyways, that'll probably be coming tomorrow. Hopefully you guys tune into that. But, wow, crazy stuff, guys. One of the best episodes of The Walking Dead, like I said, ever made, maybe the best. Just an amazing episode here to send off Rick. So, anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching this review. Thanks so much for the support on these reviews lately. It's been amazing. So, can't thank you guys enough for that. So, anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching this one. Thank you so much for watching all the Walking Dead reviews. Gonna be, continuing them every single week. 3 more episodes until the mid-season now. So, please stay tuned for those. So, anyways, guys, we'll see you next week for The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 6. That's going to be a whole new Walking Dead television show.
Welcome to my world. Welcome to my only world. My head is full of space junk, but your words are coming through.